Sold for $2 because the horse was old. They didn't know he was a war hero. The August sun beat down hard on the small Miller ranch, 20 miles from Santa Fe. Sarah Miller watched from the porch as men unloaded the last furniture from the house. Bankruptcy. The word burned like a branding iron. "Lot number 23, shouted the auctioneer, a fat man in a red vest. One horse, male, approximately 20 years old, good for light work. Sarah squinted as they led Thunder to the center of the yard. The old grey horse limped slightly on his left hind leg, his ribs visible beneath his dull coat. The scars marking his body told stories that no one there knew how to read. "I'll start at $5. The auctioneer looked at the small crowd of farmers and merchants. Silence. $3? More silence. Some men laughed. "That horse ain't worth the bullet to put him down," commented a red-bearded farmer. Sarah felt hot tears in her eyes. Thunder had been her father's horse. He always said that animal had a story, but he never told which one. $2! The auctioneer was getting impatient. "Anyone give me $2 for this horse?" A hand went up at the back of the crowd. A young man, no more than 25, in simple worker's clothes. "Sold for $2 to the young man in the back." The buyer approached Thunder slowly. "Please, sir," she said, her voice choked, "be kind to him. He was a good horse." The man removed his hat, revealing brown hair and kind eyes. "You can be sure of it, miss. My name is James Cooper. Sarah Miller." She hesitated. Do you know anything about war horses?" James frowned, then looked at Thunder more carefully. He approached slowly, extending his hand. The horse backed away, but James began to murmur something softly. Thunder stopped, his ears moving forward. "Easy, soldier," James whispered. "Easy." The word made Thunder react. The horse took a step forward, touching his muzzle to James's hand. Sarah's eyes widened. "How did you—" "I served in the cavalry," James explained, running his hand over Thunder's neck. "I recognize the marks. This horse wore a military saddle, and these scars—" He pointed to specific marks on the animal's flank. "Saber, musket balls. This horse saw heavy combat." "My father never talked about it," Sarah murmured. "He only said Thunder was special." James examined the horse more closely, gently lifting his upper lip. His eyes widened. "Good Lord," he whispered. "Sarah, do you know who your father was?" "Thomas Miller. He died 6 months ago. Why?" James pointed to a small mark engraved on the horse's tooth. Something Sarah had never noticed. It was numbers. 1847. "This horse is at least 25 years old," James said, his voice trembling with emotion. "And if he was marked in 1847, Sarah, this horse may have served in the Mexican-American War." James didn't take Thunder away that day. Instead, he and Sarah went to the small office that had belonged to Thomas Miller. Among debt papers and ranch documents, Sarah found a metal box she had never seen before. Inside, there was a military medal, yellowed letters, and a daguerreotype, an old photograph. The image showed a young soldier beside a grey horse. The horse was Thunder, much younger, strong and powerful. James picked up one of the letters with trembling hands and began to read aloud. "September 15th, 1847, Mexico City. Dear Mother, I write this letter not knowing if I will survive to send the next. Tomorrow we attack Chapultepec. They say it's an impossible fortress, walls 6 feet thick, defended by Mexico's best soldiers. But I have Thunder with me. This horse has saved me 3 times already. When my unit was ambushed at Cerro Gordo, he galloped through musket fire to get me out. At Contreras, when I took a bullet in the shoulder, Thunder carried me 15 miles to the medical camp, without stopping, even with a bullet lodged in his own flank. The men say Thunder is not an ordinary horse. They say he understands shots before they're fired, that he can sense danger. I believe them. If I don't return from this war, Mother, I ask only one thing. Take care of Thunder. He has earned his rest 1,000 times over." Your son, Thomas. Sarah covered her mouth with her hand, tears flowing freely now. My father never told, never said anything about the war. James continued examining the letters. There were dozens of them, each telling another story of heroism. Thunder saving wounded soldiers, Thunder carrying ammunition across battlefields, Thunder, in one particularly moving letter, defending Thomas from an enemy soldier with kicks that broke the man's lance. But it was the last letter that left them silent. September 20th, 1847. Mother, we survived. Against all odds, we survived Chapultepec, but at a terrible cost. Thunder saved not just me, but 32 men that day. When our flag fell during the charge, when the flag bearer was killed, Thunder stopped, simply stopped in the middle of the battlefield, refusing to retreat. I didn't understand at first. I thought he'd been hit, but then I saw the flag had fallen beneath his body. Thunder was protecting our flag, Mother. A horse protecting the American flag. General Scott himself came to see me afterward. He wanted to buy Thunder, offered $1,000, a fortune. I refused. Thunder is not mine to sell. He is my brother in arms. The general agreed. He did something I've never seen before. He decorated Thunder, gave him a medal, as if he were a soldier. Because Thunder is a soldier, Mother. The best I've ever known. James carefully closed the letter. Sarah, do you understand what this means? This horse is a decorated hero. He saved dozens of lives, and he was sold for $2. Sarah looked out the window to where Thunder was tied, eating hay peacefully, oblivious to the commotion his story was causing. What do we do now? She asked. James thought for a long moment. First, we need to care for him properly. These old scars need treatment. He needs good food, a decent stable. He hesitated. Sarah, I know your family is in financial trouble, but I'd like to make a proposal. What kind of proposal? Come work at my ranch, you and Thunder. I need help, and, well, it seems wrong to separate you from this horse now that we know his story. Sarah blinked, surprised. Your ranch? James turned slightly red. It's not a big deal. 50 acres, some head of cattle, but it's honest and growing. I could use someone who knows how to run a place. Your father's papers show you did that here. The news about Thunder spread through Santa Fe like prairie fire. Within a week, James's small ranch was receiving visitors. First came the veterans. Old men, some limping, others with empty sleeves or scars that told their own stories. They came to see Thunder, touch the old warhorse, tell their own battle stories. One of them, a man named Robert Hayes, had tears in his eyes when he saw Thunder. I was there, he said in a hoarse voice, at Chapultepec. I was just a 16-year-old boy, lied about my age to enlist. When the bullet hit me, I thought it was the end, but a grey horse appeared out of nowhere. A soldier threw me on his back, and the horse ran through hell itself with cannon fire exploding all around. He saved me. Robert extended his trembling hand, and Thunder gently touched his muzzle to it. Thank you, old friend, Robert whispered. I have grandchildren now because of you, 5 of them. Then came the journalists. A reporter from the Santa Fe Gazette wrote a moving story. The $2 Horse, a forgotten war hero. The story was reprinted in newspapers throughout the territory, and then further. Denver, San Francisco, it even reached New York. Letters began to arrive. Veterans from across the country wrote, sharing their memories of Thunder or horses like him. A retired general wrote confirming the story, attaching official documents proving Thunder's service. But it was the letter from the War Department that changed everything. The letter arrived on a cold October morning. It was official, with seals and important signatures. James and Sarah read it together in the barn, with Thunder chewing hay quietly behind them. To Mr. James Cooper and Miss Sarah Miller. Following investigation of historical records and veteran testimonies, the United States War Department officially confirms that the horse known as Thunder served with distinction in the Mexican-American War under the command of then-Lieutenant Thomas Miller. Thunder is credited with saving approximately 42 documented lives during his service, including recovering wounded soldiers under enemy fire and protecting the American flag during the Battle of Chapultepec. In recognition of this extraordinary service, the War Department would like to invite Thunder and his guardians to Washington, D.C. for an official recognition ceremony. Sarah looked at James, her eyes shining. Washington, D.C. Thunder couldn't make that trip. He's too old. James nodded slowly. We'll have to decline, but we can suggest they hold the ceremony here. And that's exactly what happened. On a clear November morning, Santa Fe transformed. The main street was decorated with flags. A wooden platform had been built in the town square. Hundreds of people gathered, veterans, families, curious onlookers, journalists from across the country. Thunder was led to the platform, not with a rope, but with James walking gently beside him. The old horse seemed confused by all the attention, his ears twitching nervously. A general in full uniform stepped onto the platform. Beside him, Sarah held her father's letters, protected in a leather folder. "Ladies and gentlemen," the general began, his strong voice echoing across the square, "we are here today to right an injustice. For 25 years, a hero lived among us without recognition. A hero who asked for nothing in return for his service, who never complained, who served silently until age forced him to retire." He turned to Thunder. "This horse, known as Thunder, exemplifies the best of the American spirit. Courage under fire, loyalty to comrades, sacrificial service." The general opened a velvet box. Inside was a special medal, minted specifically for this occasion. It showed a horse in profile with the words, "For valor and devoted service, Thunder, 1847-1872. With careful hands, the general attached the medal to a red, white, and blue ribbon and gently placed it around Thunder's neck. The crowd erupted in applause. Old men saluted. Women wiped tears. Children waved small flags. Thunder, to his credit, remained calm and dignified, as if he knew this moment was important. After the ceremony, Thunder's life changed dramatically. James's ranch began receiving donations, hay, grain, medical supplies for Thunder. Veterans sent small amounts of money with notes saying, "To care for the old soldier." A veterinary doctor from Denver came personally to examine Thunder and treat his old wounds. "These scars are incredible," he said admiringly. "This horse survived injuries that would have killed younger animals. He's extraordinarily strong." Sarah and James used the donations, not just for Thunder, but to establish something new, a sanctuary for retired war horses. They bought the old Miller property, saving it from foreclosure, and transformed it into a refuge. The first horse to arrive, besides Thunder, was an old stallion named Sherman, who had served in the Civil War. Then came Lady, a mare who had pulled ambulances. One by one, forgotten horses found a home. Thunder became, in a sense, the patriarch of this unusual family. The younger horses, though most were old by normal standards, seemed to calm in his presence. He still limped, his ribs still showed, but there was something dignified in the way he wore his medal. Journalists visited regularly, writing stories about the $2 horse sanctuary. Families came to picnic and see the heroic horses. Children learned about history not through books, but by looking into Thunder's old, wise eyes. The winter of 1873 came earlier and colder than normal. Thunder, now at least 26 years old, began to slow visibly. He ate less, slept more. James and Sarah took turns staying with him in the barn, keeping him warm with extra blankets, offering his favorite food, apples from the orchard and warm oats with molasses. One night, Sarah was sitting with Thunder when James arrived with news. "There's someone here to see him," James said softly. "A very old man. He says he served with your father." The visitor was as ancient as thunder, wrinkled by time and weather, leaning heavily on a cane. But his eyes were clear when he looked at the horse. "My God," he whispered, "is it really you, Thunder?" Sarah helped the old man closer. "Did you know my father, Thomas Miller? Know him?" The man laughed, a rough but warm sound. "Girl, I owe my life to your father, and to this horse." He extended a trembling hand, touching Thunder's face. "At Chapultepec, when bullets were flying, when everything seemed lost, your father and Thunder found me. I was bleeding, hiding behind a knockdown wall. Thomas put me on Thunder's back, and this wonderful horse ran through hell to save me." The old man bowed his head, his voice breaking. "I lived a good life, got married, had children, saw my grandchildren grow up, all because this horse wouldn't let me die in that field." He was silent for a moment, then took something from his pocket, a bright red apple. "I brought this for you, old friend, from my own orchard. Grew from seeds I brought back from Mexico, would you believe? Thought you deserved a taste." Thunder ate the apple delicately from the man's hand, and for the first time in weeks, Sarah thought she saw something like happiness in the horse's tired eyes. Thunder died peacefully on a March morning, with Sarah and James by his side. He simply lay down, placed his head in Sarah's lap, and departed, just as he had lived, quiet and dignified. News of his death spread quickly. Hundreds came to the funeral, because there was a funeral, complete with military honors. The general who had given him the medal returned to give the eulogy. Veterans from 3 wars formed an honor guard. A bugler played taps as Thunder was buried atop a hill overlooking the sanctuary, his medal still around his neck. Sarah planted an oak tree over his grave, with a simple plaque, "Thunder, 1845, 1873. War horse saved. 42 lives sold for Tudor priceless years." Later, when Sarah was an old woman, she and James had married 2 years after Thunder's death, she often brought her grandchildren to Thunder's grave. The oak had grown strong and tall, its roots deep in the New Mexico soil. The sanctuary Thunder had inspired was still operating, now caring for hundreds of retired war horses. "Grandma," one of her grandchildren asked once, "why did people think Thunder was only worth $2? Sarah smiled, looking at the tree swaying in the breeze. "Because they didn't know his story, dear. They saw an old, tired horse. They didn't see the hero underneath." "But you saw." "Not at first," Sarah admitted. "But your great-great-grandfather James saw, and he taught me something important. Never judge someone's value by appearance. Sometimes the greatest heroes are those who serve silently, without asking for recognition." She touched the bronze plaque that had been added to the memorial, listing all 42 lives Thunder had saved. Each name had a story. Each story had a family. And all those families, all those lives existed because a horse refused to leave fallen soldiers behind. "Thunder taught us that heroism isn't in parades or medals," Sarah said softly. "It's in doing what's right, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching, even when there's no reward." The wind blew through the oak leaves, and just for a moment, Sarah could swear she heard the distant sound of hooves. A horse galloping, strong and free, no longer old or wounded, but young and powerful as he had once been. "Run free, Thunder," she whispered. "You earned your rest." And somewhere, perhaps, in green fields beneath eternal skies, a grey horse galloped, his journey finally complete, his duty fulfilled, his legacy immortal. If this story touched your heart, please follow our page to hear more incredible true stories of forgotten heroes. Tell us in the comments, what country are you watching from? Let's honor these heroes together from all around the world.